Þórólfur Mostraskegg, protagonist of the first part of Eyrbyggja saga, is one of Iceland's first settlers. After arriving in the country and claiming land for himself, he takes to naming the landscape. Since Þórólfur is a devotee of the god Thor, he names the region after him and calls it Thorsnes, which literally means Thor's Peninsula. In the saga's first landscape description, these words are found. Þórólf gave the name Thorsnes to the region between Vigrafjörð and Hofsvog. On this headland is a mountain held so sacred by Þórólfur that no one was allowed even to look at it without first having washed himself, and no living creature on this mountain, neither man nor beast, was harmed until it left of its own accord. Þórólfur called this mountain Helgafell and believed that he and his kinsmen would go into it when they died. Later in the saga, Snorri Goði, Þórólfur's great-grandson, lives at the farm by the mountain and is considered the wisest consultant in the region. When someone visits him at one point to ask for advice regarding a difficult issue, Snorri answers, "We better go to the top of Helgafell. Plans made there have never been known to fail." In Helgafell, the holy mountain, yes. It's a very important place. Þórólfur and his son Þorsteinn seem to enter the mountain after they die, and their descendant Snorri, he walks up to the mountain every time he needs to meditate, think of important things to do. He even brings some of his friends there, so it's an important place in the saga.
Yes. It's somewhat enigmatic to what extent one should understand this as a genuine pre-Christian behavior, but that's quite possible. We know that they would sit outside and meditate on things, and it's quite possible that a belief like this would have been held by early settlers, though it's difficult to verify. The double text thing, if one thinks of the many parallels to Moses that I've only mentioned some, of course he does walk up to Mount Sinai and get his wisdom there, so there is the possibility that while there may be some genuine elements, that the mountain is stressed extra much by the saga author also for that reason. So there's a possibility that there's a double function from two different points in time.
When searching for the place where Eyrbyggja saga is likely to have been written, no suggestion is more popular than Helgafell. It's one of those instances where circumstantial evidence, rather than concrete fact, leads to a potential location of a saga's origin. Helgafell is one of the narrative centers in Eyrbyggja saga, the home of Snorri Goði, the chieftain and unofficial protagonist of the saga, so the place is inevitably rather prominent in the narrative. Snorri's descendants, the Sturlungs, held supreme power in the Snæfellsnes region for most of the 13th century when the saga was written. They obviously had a vested interest in venerating their ancestor, and Snorri, being the discreet statesman that he was an important role model for the Sturlungs as political leaders. Helgafell is the birthplace of Ari the Wise, the author of the Book of Settlements, and it was the most important cultural center of the Snæfellsnes region from the 12th century onwards. In 1184, an Augustinian monastery was founded at Helgafell. Several saga manuscripts were compiled and copied by the canons who lived here. The Helgafell monastery was in operation until the Reformation in the mid-16th century, and it is rightfully labeled as one of the most important centers of learning in West Iceland for nearly 4 centuries. A close analysis of Eyrbyggja saga has led many readers to the conclusion that the text is in all likelihood written by a cleric. Judging from that premise, few other cultural centers in the Snæfellsnes region seem more likely than Helgafell as the saga's place of origin. The place is so central to the text that the saga can in one sense be considered to be the history of the manor at Helgafell. One important incentive behind the commission to write Eyrbyggja saga may have been the interest that the monks in the Helgafell monastery had in knowing and preserving the prehistory of their own institution and the place that surrounded it.